Hey everyone, on this episode of Rebel Media we're going to be doing a short history on the Battle of Prairie D'Ane, the men who fought and died there, and the generals who led them. Hey guys, today we're at the old Washington Cemetery here in Washington, Arkansas. The Battle of Prairie D'Ane, which is French for Donkey Meadow, happened in the spring of 1864. The Yankees were really trying to ratchet up the pressure under the Camden Expedition and the Red River Campaign. Well, this could take a while. The end goal of taking Shreveport, Louisiana, and then Texas. General Stirring Price was the commander of the Confederates, and Union General Frederick Steele was in command of the Federal forces. Steele was not feeling very confident about his mission. He lacked faith in his counterpart, Nathaniel Banks. Many of his men were sick, and their supply lines were a disaster. Grant actually had to step in and kick his ass and get him to fight. The Federals crossed the Little Missouri River and headed towards Washington, Arkansas, which by that time was the Confederate capital of the state after having to abandon Little Rock. On their way to Prairie D'Ane, a very flat area surrounded by pines, the rebels, who were led by General Kirby Smith, had dug in to protect the capital but were outnumbered. Steele's line was supposedly 2 miles long, roughly 13,000 Yankees versus 7,000 rebels. With the Confederates heavily defending Washington, they left Camden undefended, and Steele turned his men east to move on the city. The skirmish at Prairie D'Ane allowed Steele to confuse the rebels enough to force them to defend Washington while Federal troops could move into Camden. It was the turning point of the Camden Expedition. There was still little hope of Steele reaching his ultimate objective of Shreveport and East Texas. I finally found what I had been searching for. This was the place where 74 unknown rebel soldiers are laid to rest in a mass grave and known only to God. Over here by the marker, there's a little spot to sit. There's a couple benches. Kind of nice to sit here and reflect on everything. Mass graves are always so sad to me. These 74 men had family and friends, parents, sons, daughters, neighbors, and acquaintances who loved them. And even though we don't know who all these men are, we can learn a little bit about who they were by learning about the generals that were leading them. And based on this sign right here, we're going to do just that. Let's talk about our Arkansas boys. General James F. Fagan, born in Kentucky, served in the Mexican-American War, fought at Shiloh and the Battle of Helena. He was appointed by Ulysses S. Grant to U.S. Marshal in 1875 after the war. Did you know that Native Americans, on average, went to fight for the Confederacy over the Union? Well, Tandy Walker, who was half Choctaw Indian, was the governor of Choctaw Nation in Indian Territory. His men fought for the South because they felt that the U.S. was on the verge of collapse, and they felt that the U.S. government was neglectful, and all they ever did was steal their lands. The Confederacy agreed to leave their land alone after the war. John S. Marmaduke was born in Missouri and known for his weird hair. Just kidding. He was an American politician and a soldier. He went to Yale and Harvard, and he fought in the Utah War. He's also known for his famous duel with Lucius Walker, who had called him a coward, and it cost him his life. He was captured at the Battle of Mine Creek and was a POW at Jones Island in Ohio. He lost both his brothers in the war, and after the war, he became governor of Missouri. Born in Kentucky, but lived in Paris, Texas, Samuel Bell Maxey was an American soldier, lawyer, and politician. He was a West Point grad. He fought in the Mexican-American War, and he became a lawyer in 1851. He fought at Shiloh, Port Hudson, and after the war, he was not able to practice law until he was pardoned by Johnson. And who hooked him up with the appeal? His old classmate from West Point, Ulysses S. Grant. Richard Montgomery Gano. He was a minister and a doctor before the war. His great-grandpa was also a minister and a soldier in the Revolutionary War, and he crossed the Delaware with his buddy George Washington on that famous night. It's also said that he baptized the father of our country as well, but some people dispute this. During the war, young Richard fought with John Hunt Morgan in the Battle of Gatling and at Perryville and in Lexington. He also fought with Nathan Bedford Forrest at Chickamauga. Last but not least, William Butler Crumbahar. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and I couldn't find out a whole lot about him. I just know he was born in Pennsylvania, but then moved to Louisiana. He fought in the Battle of Mansfield and Poison Springs. Can you guys just imagine being a loved one of one of those men laying unknown in that grave? Can you imagine what it would be like to not know what happened to your best friend, your brother, your son, your dad? Just sitting there waiting for a letter, not knowing if he's dead or he's in a prisoner of war camp or anything. It's very, very sad, and this is why we have monuments, guys. The monuments stand so that we can remember and honor those men who paid the ultimate sacrifice for what they believed in. And this is why we have monuments, and this is why we don't need to tear them down, but we need to remember our history and honor our history and learn from it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you thought in the comments, or if you recognize any of those graves. And we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks again for watching.